Hello, everyone. Welcome. As you join in, please feel free to introduce yourself within the chat. We'll get started in just a minute, but if you want to introduce yourself with your name, your organization, where you're coming from, that would be awesome. So if you're just joining in, we'll get started in just a second. But if you want to take a moment and just introduce yourself within the chat, your name, your organization, where you're coming from, that'll be awesome. I see we have already people across the country, Canada even, um, California, Ohio. Awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our webinar, From First Gift to Lasting Impact, How to Retain Your Donors and Ignite Year-End Fundraising. My name is Lisa Galprin. I am the Marketing Communications Manager here at Mighty Cause. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we dive into year-end fundraising and retaining donors. If you have any questions, if you could add them to the questions tool on your on your Zoom panel, dashboard panel, that would be great. I will be periodically checking the chat. We'll be going over questions throughout the webinar. There is dedicated time at the end for questions, but that's an easier way if I miss something in the chat in the questions area. That will be. And I have a bit of a cold, so I apologize if I'm a little sniffly. So excuse me for that. And as well, this webinar is being recorded and the slide deck will be provided in a follow-up email with a copy of the recording and slide deck. All right, so just a little context about Mighty Cause for those of you, if this is your first webinar you've attended or you're brand new to Mighty Cause. We've been in the nonprofit space since 2006, so for quite a long time. We're one of the biggest technology providers for Giving Days. We provide the technology for Giving Days, such as Cincinnati Gives, Colorado Gives, North Texas Giving Day, Sacramento, Give Minnesota, the list goes on and on. But outside of that, we are a year-round fundraising platform. We provide fundraising tools that nonprofits can utilize year-round for their fundraising efforts, including integration tools, peer-to-peer fundraising, donor management, etc. So if you have any questions at the end, we'll also talk through any platform questions in regards to tools. All right, so our agenda for today. So we're first going to be talking about year-end fundraising basics. Then we'll talk about the post-Giving Tuesday follow-up. What do you do with all of the donations you've received from Giving Tuesday? Your year-end communications plan. So what should you be doing from now until the 31st? And then how to retain and keep your donors for 2025. All right, so let's talk about year-end fundraising basics. So if you are on this webinar, you probably understand the importance of year-end fundraising, but just to put it into context, so in M&R Benchmark's 2024 report, they found that December giving made up 26% of all online revenue and 34% of one-time online revenue. But most importantly, they found that donations made on December 31st accounted for 5% of 2023 revenue. So that means this month is one of the most important months for fundraising, across the board for nonprofits, but in particular, the last day of the year, last week of the year, has a big impact on fundraising. So as I mentioned, 10% of all annual donations come in the last 3 days of the year. So it's also your opportunity to meet any annual fundraising goals that you haven't attained yet. And as well, Because of the season of December, the giving season, more donors are willing to give, but also because of the tax deadline of the 31st, a lot of donors are looking to also finish their donation contributions at that time as well. In context related to the tax benefits of it, I think it's important to kind of understand that part of it because this is something that you can use in your communication. So all donations on Mighty Cause, they're processed through a donor advised fund, a DAF, Mighty Cause Charitable Foundation. What this does is it allows for the donation to be immediately tax deductible for the donor. So they will immediately receive a tax receipt that we handle. You don't have to handle tax receipts, but as well at the end of the year, there's or even after the end of the year when they're filing their taxes, there is a giving statement that they can use where they can see the total of all donations that they've made on the platform. Donations to qualified 501(c)(3) nonprofits made before December 31st are eligible for deductions on this year's taxes. So when you're thinking about your year-end fundraising campaign, if you haven't done so yet, just a couple of things to think about if you are, scrambling to put something together. You want to think about what is the story you're going to tell, right? So in your communications, think about what is a key story that represents your 2024 impact. And I would think about what have you accomplished this year so far, and what are your goals for next year? So you want to define your impact for for your past year and what your goals are. I think it's helpful sometimes to find a story that has a clear hero. So that could be an individual, a family, alumni, a community. It could be maybe even be a program that you create. Maybe that's the hero in your story about what it was able to accomplish this year. And as well, you want to, if you haven't done so, take 2 to 3 images of your nonprofit, and that's what you're going to use in your communication. And it doesn't have to be professional photos, but something that represents what your organization has done, whether that's your board members together at an event, whether that's, packing backpacks or physically doing something or something that, you've sponsored, something that shows your impact. So in regards to your timeline from now until December 31st. So from now until December 19th, which is a week, you want to talk about your Giving Tuesday impact. You want to keep donor engaged in terms of what you've accomplished, and you want to plant seeds about the importance of your year end in terms of the goals that you have and the story that you're creating. And then from the December 20th to the 31st, you're going to focus on your impact and also save all those hard-hitting content and stories for this particular phase as well, and also talk about your 2025 goals. So just some campaign ideas to think about when thinking about your year-end fundraising. So you can create a holiday theme fundraising appeal. So you can incorporate holiday themes into your messaging. You could do a 12 days of giving starting, now and coming up. You could, do a dedicated day around the holiday season, end of year match campaign. So in particular, matching grants are very effective for fundraising days that have a specific deadline, like the 31st. So you can leverage a matching gift to triple or double your donations. A recurring drive, so you could encourage donors to become monthly givers as a way to provide more sustainable year-round support. And again, this is a great way to kind of incorporate it into your 2025 goals, right? This is what we're looking to accomplish. We can only accomplish this with, a donation of $25 a month. $25 a month helps us sponsor 100 backpacks for kids in needs, which could help us, help our goal of bringing 1,000 backpacks to children in need. Peer-to-peer fundraising. So you can encourage board members, volunteers, loyal donors to start their own fundraising page. So have them, reach out to their network of people and make a donation. And maybe this is their way of asking for a gift from their friends and family. And also donor recognition and stewardship, which we'll talk a little bit about more. How do you express your gratitude to potential donors? Send them personalized thank yous that share how donations have made an effect. So these are a couple of things that you can focus on. Again, these are just examples, but just to kind of get your mind working of some ideas that you can utilize in the next couple of weeks for year-end fundraising. So let's talk about Giving Tuesday follow-up. What do you do post Giving Tuesday right now? So it, let's talk about the importance of following up. Like, why is this such an important step? Because provides closure for your donors. It keeps them engaged, and it's an opportunity for you to introduce them to your year-end campaign, but also to your 2025 messaging. When donors don't feel thanked appropriately, they can maybe not feel appreciated. You may lose an opportunity to build relationships with donors, have them be more involved in your organization, make another donation. You could end up chasing your tail, so it's another vicious cycle. Donors churn because you don't have a follow-up plan, and then you spend time, money, and energy getting new donors, and then those donors churn because you aren't following up. One of my colleagues, he always says one of his previous places that he worked in nonprofit fundraising, a development director said to him that nonprofits or donors, how they look at giving is that they're making the change, right? That by giving their donation, they're making the impact and you're kind of the facilitator of it. So in terms of that follow-up and in terms of letting donors know what their donation did, how it made an impact is important in terms of to keep them more engaged. And yes, kind of what we talked about, nonprofits, it's an ongoing relationship with donors. It's not a series of transactions, it's a reciprocal relationship. And when you're not building that donor relationship, you're removing the ability to move them down your donor pipeline and not be involved. So how do you show your gratitude? How do you thank your donors properly post Giving Tuesday or even post, your year-end fundraising campaign? You want to make sure you're adding donor gratitude keywords in your communication. So keywords like because of you, with your help, in your emails, your website, and your newsletter, those are strong words, again, to emphasize a donor's impact that they've made. You can show your thanks publicly, so consider spotlighting certain donors in your newsletter, on your website, in your social media posts. Maybe you want to make it random, you choose 5 different random donors, or you want to highlight 5 recurring donors and create a name for them, our mighty ambassadors, whatever you want. But that might be an opportunity again to kind of share with donors their impact. Of course, in email, you want to make sure that you're sending results of your Giving Tuesday campaign and thanking donors for the help. Let them know how much you've raised, how many donors or donations you've received, how much towards your goal that you've reached. Again, because that's also communication that you can utilize for your year-end campaign. We raised X amount. This year, our goal is to raise $20,000. Help us get over that mile by, helping us raise $5,000 in the year end before 2024 ends. And then, of course, also on social media, communicating those results, sharing a thank you video or photo. Again, if there's, certain groups of people that you support, alumni, etc., having them create a thank you message can be really impactful. And of course, picking up the phone, especially for major donors, can be very impactful as well. You can divide and conquer. You can share with your staff or board members or volunteers. And I also think that handwritten thank you notes is still a very powerful touch. You can send a letter, a thank you card, a welcome packet, and make it personal. It doesn't have to cost a lot, right? You could pick up, just regular stationery or, nothing fancy, no thank you notes. And again, I think this is a great way to divide and conquer in terms of getting staff, board members, volunteers. If you are a one-person nonprofit, having friends or family help you out of just writing a note and thank you them, especially if you're a new nonprofit, I think this is a great way to let them know that they're really impacting a human person and a human nonprofit, that there's people behind there that really want to do the work. um, and again, you don't have to do every donor you received. Maybe you want to decide any person who's donated over $100. We want to specifically send a letter to them, or any one who's created a recurring donation. We want to do that. And you can utilize your Mighty Cause donations report to keep track of how many donors or what donors and donations you've received. All right, I'm going to pause there because I see a couple questions that have come in. Will you provide this deck after the call? Yes, I'll be sharing this deck and a copy of uh, the webinar in a follow-up email. So I'm an organization in Botswana. How do I qualify for this initiative? So to fundraise on Mighty Cause, you do have to be a 501c3 organization. If you are outside of the US, you can utilize a fiscal sponsor. So a 501c3 organization in America that would allow you to use their EIN to fundraise using 501c3 funding. Do matching campaigns encourage people to give less because their donation will be doubled or tripled? No, I actually think quite the opposite. Right. So if a donor is told I can double or triple my impact, they know that their donation, their dollar goes even further, right? If I know, oh, $5 is $10, if I donate $10 and that's $20, that can make a greater impact. And I think where this is even more powerful is I always encourage to include, what do dollar amounts mean, right? What does impact mean? Does that mean if you say $20 helps us purchase 50 backpacks for students in need, right? Then when I'm looking in terms of making a donation and I see it's being matched and I see, oh, if I make a $20 gift, that's 20 kids who gets backpacks in need. I'm more incentivized to make that larger gift. So I think hand in hand, it does help in terms of increasing gifts. All right. Can you please clarify, do donations have to receive by the 31st or the end of the 31st? What if they send a donation on the 31st, but it doesn't get credited the next business day? How is this reflected on their 2024 tax eligibility? I believe it's towards the end of the, it's, wherever they're located, the end of the 31st. I am not, I can look more into in terms of tax rules and for donors in terms of tax deductions. But by the 31st, by the end of the year, it would count towards 2024 taxes. I don't know if there's any, leeway or if there's a way around it. And then last question before I move forward, do donors add their physical mailing address? Love the idea of sending personal thank you notes. So on your downloaded donations report, you can find donor addresses there, so you can utilize that to send your thank you notes. All right, I will. Okay, one question I just see that came in. Any suggestions on how to frame results of Giving Tuesday if your org fell short of the goal? Yeah, I think in terms of if you haven't raised, you didn't reach your goal, I don't think that's not something that you need to highlight of like, we didn't reach our goal, right? You want to think about what are the positives of it, right? It's not that you didn't reach your goal. It's that, let's say your goal is $10,000 and you only raised $5,000, right? With you raise $5,000 to do X, Y, and Z, by the end of the year, we want to raise $10,000 so we can do X, Y, and Z. So you want to kind of turn it into a positive, right? At the end of the day, you still raise money and you still have made an impact for whatever that is for your organization. So you want to frame it in that way of, with Giving Tuesday, we're able to do this with these funds. By the end of the year, we still want to raise $10,000 to do X, Y, and Z. So I would look at it in terms of a positive and not a negative. I'll take a pause and I'll get back to questions, but just so we can talk a little bit about our end communications plan. So when you are thinking about what you're going to be sending in your communication, what are you going to be writing on your social posts, in your emails, maybe on letters or notes that you send? You want to think about, the classic storytelling arc, the challenge, solution, impact, and call to action, right? And I think going back to that question of, what do we say when we've fallen short of our goal? I think you want to think back into what is the challenge that your nonprofit's facing, what's the solution you're providing, the impact you have, and that call to action. And I think if you frame it that way, it's less about, oh, you didn't meet your goals, and more, again, an emphasis on what you're doing and why you're even reaching out. Why do you need help? Why are you raising money? I think also showing the differences your organization has made through before and after. So what challenges did you face at the start of the year, and how have you overcome those challenges? What, again, the impact that your nonprofit has made, regardless how little or big it is. Showing donors of the difference you've made, what has been your impact, what initiatives or contributions have you made that were possible by your supporters. Include, I think, outcome and impact data. So your $25 transform a child's school year by providing them a brand new backpack. With your collective help this year, we were able to provide 1,000 backpacks to students in need. Again, framing it in terms of what we're doing and what we're planning on doing, and also what our goal is. Position your story as part of a larger journey. Mention what the next phase of your mission looks like and how donors can continue support is crucial to sustaining your progress made in 2024. Again, kind of bringing in the loop of what are your overall goals for your nonprofit? How are you looking to progress in terms of the impact you're making? And I think additional information in terms of your key accomplishments, details of your campaign, your deadline, the 31st, any information about your history, etc. I definitely recommend to kind of keep it short and sweet. I think the shorter is the better it is, and the stronger your point gets across. And I have some examples of some email templates in a second. So using clear and strong language, I talked about because of you is a pretty strong one in terms of reaching out to donors who have previously donated, or who, again, the thank you notes or messages you want to send. Because of you, we were able to insert your accomplishment, insert, number of services this year, and continue our mission of what your mission is. Can we count on you to give $25 to support our efforts next year? Within your emails, as well on social media, you want to make sure you have a clear call to action. So what are you asking them to do? To donate, to give again, support today, and having a clear link to your donation button. So here is just an example of an email template that you can utilize. And we have as well more email templates available in our year-end fundraising toolkit. As the year-end draws to a close, we at Mighty Foundation have been reflecting on everything our organization has been able to do this year because of donors like you. This year, we insert your accomplishments, stats, maybe an infographic of what you've been able to do. We can't do any of this without your support, and to continue helping our community the new year, we're asking you to make a donation of $25 to invest in Mighty Cause's work to provide support to nonprofits, etc. Time is running out with just 3 days left in 2024. Make your tax-deductible donation by midnight on December 31st to help us do even more for supporting nonprofits in the new year ahead. Donate now. So short, to the point, and again, kind of inserting what the impact that you've done and what your overall mission for your organization is. And this is one example. Of course, you guys can utilize this, you can change it up, but this is kind of a template you can use for some of your emails. This is also an example I added in for matching grant. If you have a matching grant that you want to, I highly recommend communicate and emphasize. There's 3 days left to make your gift to Mighty Cause Foundation, and a generous donor sponsor has offered to double your donation if you make your gift before December 31st. There's never been a better time to support Mighty Cause or Mighty Foundation. Your gift will help us support 60 more nonprofits in the year ahead. Give to Mighty Cause because you care and because you want to see your hard-earned money do more for supporting nonprofits by doubling your donation. The clock is ticking. Make your gift before midnight fundraising deadline on December 31st to have your gift match. So again, pretty short, simple, inserting your impact, what you've done, and also the call to action is, this is the deadline, make your donation in order for it to be doubled. When you're thinking about who you're contacting and reaching out to, I think email segmentation can be really powerful. So email segmentation just means that you're taking your list of all of your donors or all of your supporters, and you're dividing it up into groups and maybe catering some communication to different segments. So that doesn't mean that all of your communication might go to different people. You could probably have some that goes to everyone, but maybe you also want to think about having a dedicated email to recurring donors, a dedicated thank you email to recurring donors. I definitely recommend doing a dedicated email to unretained 2023 donors, which we'll talk about in a second. Again, kind of using that language of, last year, because you donated, we did X, Y, and Z. This year or next year, our goal is X, Y, and Z. Will you help us, make a larger impact? All right. And as I talked about, I think focusing also on the donors that have previously donated can be powerful because it costs less to retain an existing donor to acquire a new one. It's more cost effective and efficient. It is continually bringing in new donors, but losing previous donors isn't growing necessarily your nonprofit. And also by having continuous donors, right, that is creating supporters for your organization that could potentially be future fundraisers, future volunteers, future board members. So if you utilize Mighty Cause or have utilized Mighty Cause, you can utilize your donor retention report. So that will show you a list of all of the donors that have previously donated to your organization, and will show you who you have or haven't retained. If you're new to Mighty Cause, this is something you can use next year, but you can export this list, and that will be the direct list you can utilize to reach out to. And we talked a little bit about retention communication, reinforcing the importance of their support. You can utilize, again, the photos and videos, those like 2 to 3 images that you've pulled up that shows your nonprofit at work. Your $50 donation helped us provide 10 school lunch meals to children in need this past year. With your help, last year we were able to provide 10,000 lunch meals to students in need. This year, we're looking to close out the year with 20,000 lunch meals. Can you help us meet that goal? And I think what's also can be impactful if you have time is an annual impact report. An annual impact report, I think, creates a culture of accountability with your donors. If you utilize Canva, this image here, I just took a Canva annual report image. They have lots of different templates that you can use. And this is a great way to showcase the results of your organization, the outcomes, and what your overall impact has been for the year. I think it primes also donors for your year-end ask by showing them, hey, this is everything we've accomplished. We're trying to accomplish even more with your help. All right, so here's kind of a tentative email schedule that you can utilize for your year end when you're thinking about the last week of the year. So the 26th email with an impact story regarding your nonprofit. The 27th, what are your goals for next year? Maybe 29th, an email from your executive director or board chair. 30th, accomplishments from your year. And 31st, the final push, midline deadline, and tax reminder. At this, this might be more than you usually communicate with your nonprofits, and that's totally okay in this time of year. It's kind of custom to reinforce your nonprofit and let them know. Again, you don't have to follow this schedule guide. You can pick and choose some of these emails that you want, but just a tentative schedule that you can utilize for your communication. All right, and then when we talk about social media, I think you shouldn't forget about. You want to post maybe 2 to 3 updates in the last 2 weeks of December. 2 to 3 posts of, again, maybe post Giving Tuesday sharing your results, the impact of gifts, images again of any event or impact that your nonprofit has. Um, my rule of thumb for social media is stick to what you're used to. So if your donors are not on TikTok, you don't have to post on TikTok. If you want to experiment with TikTok, feel free to, or go ahead. And definitely that's something that's awesome to do, but don't stress about, posting on platforms that you don't think your donors on. If they're just on Instagram and Facebook, just focus on those 2 platforms. When thinking about what to post as well, I think sharing impactful stories and visuals. So any videos showcasing impact, testimonials, staff or volunteer, I think can help engagement, especially with videos, because Facebook and Instagram definitely push videos on their platform. And this might also be an opportunity to test out boosting Instagram or Facebook posts. If you haven't dabbled with Facebook or Instagram ads, I think this is a good, first step into paying for advertising on social media. You can pay to boost particular posts. And what this does is it allows for a larger amount of people to see your posts. And you can set a small budget. You could do $5, you could do $20, you could do $100. You can put in also the type of people that you would want to see your post to. But this might be a great thing to kind of experiment with if it's your first time or consider doing for your year-end campaign. All right, I'm going to take a pause, just go through some questions. Do you recommend that people keep using the Giving Tuesday page? Yeah, so if you participate in a Giving Tuesday event, you can utilize that page until the end of the year. So yes, you can utilize that page and have people just donate to it. I think that's a great way, again, to kind of tie in your Giving Tuesday campaign with year-end fundraising, of kind of saying, this was, we participated in Giving Tuesday. Thank you everyone for donating. Because of those, donations we received, we were able to provide 20 school lunches for students in need. By the end of the year, we're trying to make that 50. Again, it kind of ties into the language that you're trying to build. If someone sends a check by mail, it must be postmarked by the December 31st. Many nonprofits keep a copy of the envelope to verify that the donation was made in the current year so the donor can get tax benefits. Okay, thank you. I think that's helpful information to know about end of year tax fundraising. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. So I'm gonna talk about retaining and keeping donors in 2025, which is crazy to think about. We're in 2025. All right, so some things you want to think about in your year end for 2025 is creating a communication plan and what that means for your nonprofit. So I always recommend an onboarding welcome journey. So what that means is what happens to a donor when they make a gift to your nonprofit, right? Does anything happen? Do they just make a gift and they get a receipt and thank you and that's it? There's a welcome journey kind of provides the opportunity for you to set a system so that X, Y, and Z happens after a donor makes a gift. Um, so does that mean a welcome series of emails, a phone call, a welcome packet that's emailed to them? What does that exactly mean? And I also, I think about, what is your communication for 2025? I typically recommend a reach out at least once per quarter, to share any updated information, a check-in, um, impact check-in, etc. So, your donor welcome journey is going to be the best time to begin engaging with your donors, and should be sent within the first 2 days of when a donation is made, as well. Just you know, the first thing that a donor receives when they make a donation on Mighty Cause is they're going to immediately get a tax receipt and any thank you messaging that you've added on there. But you can feed information in small chunks on a regular basis, and you can highlight how their donation is being used. Additionally, on Mighty Cause, on our Accelerate plan, we have automated emails and integrations with MailChimp or Constant Contact, other donor management or email marketing systems that you may use. So it makes it easier if you do get a donation, it kind of goes into those systems, or you can send an automated email that will save you time doing so. But here's just an example of kind of what that may look like in terms of an email journey of what you may want to send. So the first is a thank you and welcome email. The next one being an impact email, what donations, how donations make an impact to your nonprofit. A get to know us better email, get involved in volunteers email, anniversary email of their gift. So 1 year anniversary, 6 months, etc. Monthly giving ask email, survey email, and then donor community spotlight email. So just some things to think about in terms of how do you want to facilitate your donor relationship and donor engagement with donors from the onset. And when you're thinking about kind of your communication and your, engagement and relationship with donors, you want to think about, do donors know everything that you do? The more donors know about you do, the more reasons they will continue to donate or to continue to, be present with your organization. So adding real life stories to display your impact, incorporating just an example, did you know portion and maybe your newsletter or your website, posting a quiz in newsletters or on social media every Thursday with fun facts of maybe about the cause that you are, helping in, something that really shares with donors what exactly, the larger impact that you're making that they may not know about. Part of that welcome journey too, and why it's important, is getting donors involved and shepherding them into other areas of your organization, whether that's volunteering, peer-to-peer fundraising, serving on your board of directors or becoming future board of directors, attending events. And these are non-monetary asks, and there are more ways to tie a donor to your organization, and they're not just a donation ask, and a way for them to continue support for your organization, and also to see how other people are involved with your nonprofit. When we're talking about, again, building community and the retaining donors, you want to consider maybe in the new year of hosting an annual donor event where donors can meet your nonprofit leaders. Again, these are things that don't necessarily have to cost a lot. This could be at your office. This could be at a public park, and you just purchase a couple drinks, or you make it a potluck. You can organize events for recurring donors, maybe happy hour, wines and wags, volunteer day, lunch and learns, a networking event. Something that, again, kind of continues the connection with your nonprofit. You could also consider starting a closed Facebook or LinkedIn group, if for, again, your recurring donors, or if you're labeling them your ambassadors, or in general, any donors, and orchestrating meetups that we kind of talked about. And additionally, when we're talking about your welcome journey, the goal always is to move your supporters or your sustainers down the pipeline, encouraging donors to bump their support, and kind of do the math for them, right? Small increases make a big impact. So one more dollar a month is a 10% increase for $10 a month. Um, Getting them involved in more aspects of your nonprofit's work, as we talked about. And I think it's also helpful to keep detailed records of your donors and how they are engaging with your nonprofit. We have a donor management system, but there are other donor management systems out there as well. A donor management system can help simplify and automate your donor management. It allows you to make notes about your donors, keep track of interactions, manage donations, segment donors, create personalized communication. It helps you be more efficient and provide insight into your donors and their preferences. It allows you to be more analytical because you can see all of your donors and see how they're, you know, donating to your organization in a bigger way. So we have our own donor management system. Again, there are others out there, but our supporters tool will have donor records for all of your donors where you can keep notes of each of your donors, and it will also include all of their donation data from Mighty Cause or any offline gifts that you enter. Okay. So we're actually at the end of the webinar. I know I've gone through things pretty quickly, but just a couple of final things before we go into final other questions. Um, so we have a year-end fundraising toolkit. It has a ton of helpful resources. So checklist, email templates, fundraising ebook, year-end donor retention tips, email best practices, social media planning, much more. Um, the link is in the slide deck, and I'll include a link in a follow-up email. But feel free to download it. It's completely free to access all of those resources. And lastly, if you have for any of your year-end fundraising social posts, tag Mighty Cause. We want to reshare your posts. So tag at Mighty Cause, and we will be resharing them on Instagram and Facebook, wherever you tag us, so that more people can see your posts and we'll also like them as well. So please tag us. We want to help support your campaigns. All right, so I'm going to go into questions. If there's any left. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in. If there are any other questions that come up, you can feel free to email us and we'll add the email here, support@mightycause.com. The templates, I see templates will be in the year-end toolkit. So you can download the toolkit. They're all available there. If you have any follow-up questions, support@mightycause.com. We're here to support you guys in, however we can. And additionally, after this webinar, there's going to be a survey that pops up. We're looking to plan out our 2025 webinars. So if there are specific topics that you want covered, that you want more information on, that you would love to learn more about, let us know, because that's very helpful for us to see what we need to plan out and what would be most helpful for you guys. Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions in, so we will end it there. But I hope this was a bit helpful and for your year-end fundraising. And